And welcome back to Red Card. I'm your host, Anthony Totera, and joining us right now live from TFC, a guy that is no stranger to MLS, a guy that brings his A-game each and every time out, Drew Moor. Drew, welcome, my friend.
What's up, Anthony? How are you doing?
I'm very good, Drew. Let's talk about this Derby coming up. But before we do that, let's talk about how you and your wife have settled in our great city of Toronto. Obviously, making the transition here from Colorado, you had to look at many things. Where to live, entertainment-wise, especially a guy like you that has a strong faith background like myself, where to attend on a day on Sundays. Talk about all that and how it has really been nice for you to get accustomed to that.
Yeah, it's been interesting 3 or 4 months, certainly, with the move. A wife that's now 7.5 months pregnant. It was a bit of a whirlwind trying to find a place to live, getting settled in with a new doctor for the wife, for our baby. We got a couple dogs. You mix everything in, and logistically, it's not an easy move coming from the States to Canada. But now that the weather's starting to get a little warmer and the team's continuing to do well, we're starting to settle in a lot better, and we're really starting to enjoy it now.
As a player, Drew, let's be honest. Let's put the cards on the table. After a loss or after a tough game, you got a wonderful wife. You've got some pets. You've got a family that supports you. Do you bring home that result with you? Do you leave it at the field, or unfortunately sometimes you bring it home?
I've been somebody actually, and I feel like I'm lucky in this way, that doesn't really bring results home, whether they're good results or bad results. I've been in the league for a little bit, and you have to understand that, yeah, certainly soccer.
Your phone is just breaking up there, Drew. Maybe if you can just change your position somehow, we could hear you a little bit better on your cell.
Yeah, sorry about that, Anthony. I'm in a spot where I get bad reception sometimes.
That's a little better. Yeah, continue on.
Okay. Yeah, I'm somebody, I've been lucky. I feel like I don't really bring my work home with me. I think being in the league for a little bit and understanding that it's a long season and that, soccer is my passion. It's my job. It's what I love to do. I'm going to do it as long as I can. But I certainly enjoy my family and getting away from it at times off the field.
Drew, let's talk about this team that you have come to. It's a veteran-laden team. MVP Jovinko, Bradley, who stirs the drink for me, and Clint Irwin, no stranger to you, coming over here. This is a team that is destined to do great things this year, but everyone has to gel. And I think once you guys are gone after this road trip, settling in at home, I believe more guys will get comfortable and more comfortable because you're not going from city to city, week in and week out, hotel to hotel. You're actually at home for a good stretch.
Yeah, definitely. I think, anytime you're on the road, it's a tough test. And sometimes you go 2 or 3 games on the road and it starts to wear on you a little bit. But when you put 8 games on the road, it's interesting. We've gotten used to it, and we've gotten used to the travel. And for the most part, they've been short trips. We went out to Colorado, which is a little bit longer, and we'll finish the road trip out at Portland, which is a long trip. But they haven't been too long for the most part. And, when you can grind out results on the road like we did this last weekend in D.C. and like we plan on doing in Montreal this coming weekend, it's a good sign of the character. And, we've got great players on this team. You just alluded to a couple of them, but we've also got a bunch of grinders on this team, and that's important in MLS. And a road start like this will certainly put that to the test, and I think we've done well so far.
Drew, let's talk about it. The Derby coming up. There's no love lost between the cities, whether it's hockey, football, soccer, as we call it here in North America. A lot of people have a lot of bad taste in their mouth still left from that playoff game. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of real anxious TFC fans to see what happens this weekend with the new faces, yourself, Clint, and on and on. How important is it that you guys make a statement? Even if, let's hope you guys come away with a result, a draw or win. But if you battle for a full 90 minutes, you get in their grills to make them understand this year's going to be different. How important is that?
Yeah, it's an important game, and we understand, not only how big it is in the table, but certainly for the fans and for the city of Toronto. And I think, I shared with a lot of people when I signed with TFC, I got a bunch of tweets from TFC fans, and I got a bunch of congratulations, but I also got a bunch of, quotes, we hate Montreal, and that was all some of the tweets said, and you can just tell that the Reds, the fans, hate Montreal, and I think that's good. I think that's healthy. I think it's a rivalry that I'm happy to now be a part of. I've been in a couple pretty good rivalries myself, playing for Dallas, who play against Houston a couple times this season, and obviously when I was with the Rapids, they hate Salt Lake, and so I've played in some good rivalries, but I feel like this one is different, and I'm going to feel it a little bit more, and since it's so important to the fans, it becomes important to the players, and I think we're going to show that on Saturday how important it is to us as well.
It's a European atmosphere, Drew. It's something like the Pacific Northwest, if I can equate it to you. It's when Portland gets it on with Seattle. Vancouver Whitecaps, whether they're playing Seattle or Portland, before the game, after the game, the atmosphere in the stadium, that is what you're going to get, and more, when you're going to play the Montreal Impact, because now with Drogba, Piatti playing lights out good, and they're sitting at the top of the table, and Jovinko wanting to repeat his success last year and more, I think it's going to be a fantastic game.
Yeah, it should be, and you have all those storylines, and everybody right now is gunning for Montreal in the East. They're the team at the top. They've gotten off to a good start, and they have some very good players, and you mix in Drogba with a core group of guys that have been together for a couple seasons now, and it's going to be a huge test for us. And we've prepared all week, and we've watched some film, and I think if we go in there and remain difficult to play against, and stay tidy at the back and let our studs do what they do in the attacking half, we're going to give ourselves a good chance. But the mentality all week has been 3 points, and you can just feel that this TFC side, they don't feel good about how things finished last season, and that's one of the main reasons why we're so amped up for this game.
Let's talk about head coach Greg Vanney. What has he said to you before the season kicked off, week in, week out in training? What does he expect from you? What does he want from you? Because I got to be honest, Drew, I put the cards on the table. A lot of people take a lot of pot shots at Coach Vanney, and I got a lot of time for the guy. He's a great human being. He's a guy that has really improved from last year, I believe, and is a guy that doesn't get the respect. Now that you're working with him day in and day out, give me your thoughts, and also what does he expect from you, and what does he want from you?
Yeah, I think Greg's a great coach, and he told me when I signed here that he wanted me to be myself. A lot of the talk had been about all the goals that Toronto had given up the previous season and how they needed to solidify their defense. But by no means did I feel like I needed to come in and save this defense or save the back line. I just wanted to come in and be a presence, be a big voice, and just do what I've done for my first 11 seasons, as a professional. And we brought in some other great players and added them to a mix of what was already some very, very talented players. And I think, the main thing I'm realizing about playing for Toronto is I don't have to worry about anybody else's job. I just need to go out and do my job on the field. And that's all Greg really wants the guys to do. He's got a deep team. I think he understands the game extremely well. I think he's got a good coaching staff with him. And he lets the players, be heard. He lets the players go and play freely. And, he's got a veteran group of guys that I think he can rely on just like we can rely on him. And it's a long season. And, again, playing 8 straight games on the road is never easy. But we've gotten off to what I feel like is a very good start. And a lot of that has to do with the way Greg manages players and, is putting our formation and our lineup out there.
Drew, you got to see your teammate a lot more in the other conference that is now at TFC, Stephen Beitashour. I got to tell you, I love the way he has played early on this season. Fearless. He's a leader out there, a guy that commands respects, and he gives you all. He leaves it all out there. Will Johnson, we know all about Will Johnson here in Toronto and in Canada. The guy is an energizer bunny. Talk about these two guys and what they bring to the table, their passion, their desire, and their commitment.
Yeah, they've been unbelievable. And they're two guys that I knew were great players and I hated playing against, but I didn't realize how good they were until I became teammates with them. And Will Johnson, he just covers so much ground. And he's been, he's put his body through a lot the past month or so with qualifying for Canada. Had a lot of traveling there. Obviously, a lot of traveling with TFC, and he plays 90 minutes almost, pretty much every single game, and he just is all over the place. And he's one of those players, a lot like Steven Beitashour. You don't realize how good he is and how valuable he is until he's on your side. And Beitashour has been the same way. Again, I was always impressed with him, but now that I'm playing on the same back line as him, I just absolutely love him. You can rely on him. You know what you're going to get from him, and those two additions have been absolutely fantastic, and I couldn't be happier to be playing next to those guys.
Drew, just before we let you go, we really appreciate your time. Let's talk a little bit about MLS, the league as a whole. Let's talk about the state of Texas, where you were born, if I'm not mistaken, in Dallas, where my Cowboys play, and I love watching them play come NFL season. Let's talk about the state of Texas. It's really taken off. I mean, we've got FC Dallas, Houston Dynamo. I was talking to Will Bruin a couple weeks ago on the show, and Joe Willis, and they talked about how it's really taken off like wildfire. I talked to a couple Dallas players, Walker Zimmerman and a couple others, and they can really sense that soccer's starting to take a hold in that state. San Antonio, possibly the next MLS expansion team. Talk about that state.
Yeah, I think Texas has always been a hotbed for youth soccer, and certainly when I was a club player back in North Texas, a lot of my buddies and guys that I was competing with, went to college to play soccer, and some of them played professionally. You look at Lee Wynn, you look at Clint Dempsey, you look at Kenny Cooper, just to name a couple, and the list goes on. But I think the hardest part was, translating that to the professional ranks and getting the fans and getting the marketing to the correct people, and obviously, high school football is big there. The Cowboys are there. Houston and Dallas both have pretty much all the major sports. And it is great to see now that soccer is starting to make a name for itself in the professional ranks in the state of Texas. And it wasn't huge when I played for FC Dallas. Yeah, I thought we drew well. I thought we had some faithful fans, but it looks like, the numbers are starting to grow, and that's great to see. And San Antonio, there's been a lot of talk about them becoming an MLS franchise. I think that would be great. It's good to see my home state enjoying the sport that I love so much and continuing to grow, and I hope it continues to, and I would love to help out as much as possible.
Drew, you talked about growing, and MLS has grown since you've entered the league. You've been in the league, if I'm not mistaken, close to 11, 12 years. It has taken off. I look at Orlando City, the fan support there, bringing over Kaká. It is unbelievable, 30, 40, 50,000. It's great to see. You look at another LA franchise, New York with 2, bringing over Pirlo, Villa, on and on. That Pacific Northwest, we talked about it. I think the league has nowhere to go but up. Obviously, some things need to improve, whether it's in the referee department or whether it's in attracting more players to open up the purse strings. But I think all in all, it's getting more and more exposure, especially since Beckham and Jovinko have come here.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm so proud of the league. And, somebody who came in, myself in 2005, and see how much it's grown. It's unbelievable to think about what road trips used to be like, what the stadiums used to be like, what traveling used to be like, and what it is now. Just 11, 12 years later, it almost makes me wish that I could play for another 20 or 30 years, just so I could continue to be a part of it as a player. And certainly MLS is a league that I want to be a part of for the rest of my life in whatever capacity. But I'm proud to see where the league has gone and how much it's grown, and I hope it continues to. I'm sure it will, because it's given me so much and given so many players so much, and it's doing a lot of the right things right now, and it's great to see.
We'll close it out with this, Drew. I want you to talk to the youth coaches all over North America and then to the kids as well. The youth coaches that unfortunately some of them, not all, believe that every game is a must-win game. They're playing in a World Cup. They want that $2 trophy, that $2 medal, on, and they're not really thinking about the big picture in development. Talk to that coach, and then talk to those young kids, Drew, the ones that are on the bench that want to live the dream like Drew Moor and play professional soccer, or maybe NCAA, or just have fun. But that confidence is shot because they're on the bench, they're losing confidence, and their coach won't let them play the game they love.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think, listen, I was extremely lucky because my job is what I love to do. I get to play soccer for a living, and I have a passion for it, and I want to do it as long as I possibly can. I always had good coaches growing up, and a lot of times, kids are swayed by how their coach is, whether they're playing or not, whether they're getting positive feedback or not. Soccer is becoming a very, very competitive market, especially in the youth ranks. And I'm lucky because I was able to make it, and I had good coaches and I had good teammates. And it's crazy how different the youth ranks are now than when I was playing, and it just 15 years later in North Texas. But kids just got to keep working hard. They got to play every day. I remember I used to come home from school, and the first thing I would do was go in my backyard and play soccer by myself. I had 2 little goals, and I practiced every single day, and I didn't even look at it as practice. I was just doing it because I enjoyed it. But continue to have fun, continue to develop, and work as hard as you can. And you never know, there could be a spot here for you on an MLS side.
Absolutely. Drew, good luck on the weekend. Welcome to Toronto in a couple weeks' time in your home debut. God bless you and your wife. And again, we embrace you. We welcome you to the city. And good luck this season in 2016 to try and bring a championship home here to Toronto, my friend.
Thanks, Anthony. Really appreciate it, bud.
That is Drew Moor of TFC. Class act on and off the field. This is a strong player, a strong human being, and a guy that has his mind in the right place, whether it's going to bat for his teammates, whether it's looking after the youth. He's got a real strong faith background. We're from the same faith background as well, so he's got everything in order, and he understands the big picture in life. Great talking with Drew Moor. We'll take a quick commercial break, then we'll continue on talking about the Derby right here all hour long. Stay tuned right here on Red Card.